In this episode, I'm going to share with you another story from somebody in my Stucknaut collective who has a really good example of self-regulation. I'll share her story, give you my thoughts on what's happening, and give you some tips on your own self-regulation practices along the way. Hey, I'm Justin Sunseri. I am a therapist, a coach, and the creator of the polyvagal trauma relief system. Welcome to Stucknaut Broken, where I teach you how to live with more calm, confidence, and connection without psychobabble or woo-woo. This comment, I'm also going to keep this one as anonymous and generalizable as I can, but it's a specific story. Again, somebody from within the Stucknaut collective who is doing her own self-regulation practices. I'll call this person Macy. Macy says, "Thanks, Justin, for this really helpful episode, responding to a question arising out of shutdown to stillness. I felt like so many connections were made in my brain as I listened to it. I flip-flop between shutdown/freeze/stillness and flight/fight. Now, this might seem like an odd flip-flopping sequence. I don't think it's the from shutdown to freeze to stillness to flight to fight. That's not what she's saying. It sounds like she spends a lot of time in shutdown or freeze or stillness. These are actually kind of all related because shutdown, is shutdown. Freeze is shutdown plus flight fight, and stillness is shutdown plus safety. All three of those, shutdown, freeze, and stillness, all involve the dorsal vagal pathways or the shutdown immobilization pathways. When you are in shutdown, you're immobile. In freeze, you are immobile. And in stillness, you're also immobile. But the flavor of those is different. The shutdown immobility is very limp and collapsed, helpless, worthless, that kind of feel to it, void, cold. The freeze immobility is very tense and rigid, and the paralysis, it's cannot move. And the stillness immobility is more relaxed and calm. They're all immobile, but they feel different, but all of them have some level of shutdown as a part of it. Or another way to think about it is that all of those have some level of immobility. When we come out of immobility through self-regulation, we have more mobility, which is flight and fight. So she's saying that she goes from immobility into mobility, which is, that's definitely a good sign of self-regulation. Macy continues and says, "I am very conscious that my system seems to feel safer when immobilized. And as soon as a bit of activation arises, wham, more fear, and so back to shutdown." Now, this could sound a couple different ways. My system feels safer when immobilized. That could be that Macy, or in general, that someone is listening to the needs of their body, and they're listening to the needs to immobilize, or the body needs to immobilize, so they do it. And that listening, that mindful listening, requires some level of safety activation to notice that, and then to give yourself that without judgment. So the body or the system feeling safer through immobilizing, that makes sense in that way. But also, when you exist in shutdown or freeze, immobilizing can also be comforting. It could also be predictable. There might be just some level of predictable comfort there, even though you're not mindfully experiencing it and allowing it and opening up the potential for self-regulation. Like someone who's in a shutdown state might say they feel safer when immobilized and then go watch TV. But that's different than I feel safer when immobilized and sitting outside and feeling the sun and listening to the birds around me and feeling the breeze. That's a much different experience of immobilization. So if you have a lot of immobilization, you need the safety state to be strengthened to come out of immobilization, to allow the next level of self-regulation, which is being in flight and fight. If you don't have that healthy, strong level of safety in your system active, then as the body attempts to self-regulate out of immobility, flight and fight kick in. But there's still such a strong amount of immobility that when the flight fight kicks in, you go right back down into shutdown. But so it could be right back down to shutdown, but it also could be as we come out of shutdown, out of immobility, now there's a little bit of flight fight, but now both of these states are active. Immobility and mobility, shutdown plus flight fight. And that would be freeze or fear. So coming out of shutdown could have some element of fear to it. It's coming out of shutdown into flight fight and then having it be too much, being dysregulated, and then going right back down into shutdown. That's a possibility as well. Macy says, I do have a lot of fatigue in my system, and this also feeds into the fear, a fear of doing too much. So I can move to stillness, but permitting flight fight seems just too scary. If you're in more of a shutdown immobility like Macy is here, then I would really encourage you to focus first on stillness. Stillness is the combination of shutdown plus safety, immobilization plus connection. If you can be in stillness, then you can feel relaxed, calm, and connected to the world around you, and even your internal world potentially. So instead of trying to get from shutdown immobility into flight fight mobility, that might be too much to ask for your system. Instead, although it will happen, instead focus on stillness. If you can be in stillness, then you can actually compassionately welcome some sympathetic energy back into your system. If you don't have a strong enough safety state, then yeah, it's going to seem scary, and you're going to have thoughts of failure, like this isn't going to work, or it's hopeless, or even if I access flight and fight, I'll never be able to get out of it, and I don't want to live like this forever. So your thoughts are going to go all these places. Focus on safety, safety, safety. Then safety will combine with your shutdown state, resulting in stillness. Macy goes on to say, after listening to this episode, so the previous episode, after listening to this episode, I was aware of some sympathetic activation swirling around. Rather than ignoring it, I decided to mobilize as Justin suggested. I put on some music, the techno track from the film The Outrun, which I don't know what that film is, but techno track, I'm going to guess it's more upbeat, fast paced. Made sure I was fully grounded and let the music come into my body. I did some very strange movements, couldn't call it dancing, twirling around, and the dog joined in. Let's pause here because this is perfect. Rather than noticing sympathetic activation and trying to get rid of it, Macy welcomed it, and she did so with music. Music and movement are a perfect combination and outlet for sympathetic activation. So it's not about noticing flight fight coming back in the system and like trying to calm it down. Really, it's more about how do you welcome it? How do you welcome it compassionately and with curiosity? That is self-regulation. Stamping down or tamping down or dampening, whatever the right word is, shutting down your sympathetic activation is not self-regulation. That's dismissal, that's rejection, that's self-judgment maybe, that's fear. And that all makes sense, and that's fine. I'm not trying to say that's bad. It's a pretty normal part of the process. But when you focus on safety more and more and more, then when you feel flight fight coming back into your system, you can do what Macy did here, which is to notice it and feel it and give it permission to be there, and actually gave it an outlet through movement and through music. And what's really cool is that she had a pretty good anchoring in her safety state, used movement, used music as a further safety anchoring, and flight, fight, discharge, and then also had some co-regulation because her dog joined in. That's super cool. And she goes on to say, I had a very strong memory of being on a roundabout as a child, being very frightened and crying, trying to get off, but in the present, my arms went up as if I was flying. I'll be honest, I don't know what a roundabout is. Here in the United States, a roundabout is an intersection. You drive through a roundabout. I'm guessing it's some sort of highly sympathetic ride that she was on that is not local to me. If you're on YouTube and you know what a roundabout is, please put it in the comments. So that's what I'm running with. I'm guessing that's what it is. So anyhow, Macy says, she had done some strange movements, couldn't call it dancing, twirling around, dog joined in. And then she says, I had a very strong memory of being on a roundabout as a child, being very frightened and crying, trying to get off. But in the present, my arms went up as if I was flying. It felt fabulous and freeing. I stopped as soon as I sensed a slight wave of defensive energy. Good job. And the cognition, the thought that she had was, this might be too much. Really good breakdown, by the way, of all the different pieces that we talk about in the courses, all the different safety anchoring pathways, the co-regulation, your polyvagal knowledge, spot on. But then also noticing and breaking down the pieces of your SSIEC, your state, sensation, impulse, emotion, and cognition. And by the way, I'll put a download link for you, for everybody, in the description. If you sign up for my email list, I'll give you that sheet to help you name all these different things you're going through. So you're able to break down your thoughts, your emotions, your sensations. That's like really good. Really, really good job, Macy. So what happened here? Why did this memory come into Macy's mind? Well, she was successfully self-regulating. And we know the story follows state. The thoughts in our brain, whether they're cognitive, like word-based, or images or beliefs or memories, whatever it is, the thoughts in our brain, the cognitions, follow the state of our body. So Macy, or for you, dear listener, there may be a moment in time that really just left this imprint on your body. And it could be a traumatizing one. And that's what's going to come up for you as you self-regulate, or as you feel things in the present moment that are reminiscent of the past. So for Macy, the sympathetic activation that was coming up within her was reminiscent of the roundabout as a child. And it sounds like that moment left an imprint on her of some kind. So as we self-regulate, and as these new feelings and emotions and sensations come into our body, or returning ones, return to our body, then our thoughts will follow. And then our thoughts will remember or conjure up that thing that once happened way back when, or the thing that somebody said when you were little, or there was this time that I did X, Y, and Z. Your thoughts, your story will follow the state of your nervous system. So if you're in a safety state, your thoughts will be more flavored by safety. If you're in a sympathetic state, your thoughts will be sympathetically flavored. And that might be memory ones as well. What Macy did here is actually a really good example of how I think about and teach and work with my clients. My clients can meet with me and talk about past events, even past traumatic events. It's totally fine. Of course, the past always comes up. We talk about the past. But the way that I work is in the present moment. My focus is pretty much entirely on what's happening right here and right now. Even as we're talking about the past, well, how do we feel about it right here, right now? As we do these self-regulation practices in the courses or in my one-on-one work, then the memories of the past will come up as we self-regulate. Then that event that you went through, all of a sudden it becomes much more relevant. So rather than fishing for past traumatic events, fishing for parental issues, fishing for past relationship issues, I focus on the here and the now. As it's relevant, as you self-regulate, then, oh yeah, there was that thing that happened when I was a kid. Oh yeah, I do have this history of these types of relationships. Then all of a sudden, your brain starts to remember or put together things in a much different way. So I focus on present moment, and Macy, to you, and for you, dear listener, if that's your focus, I say keep doing it. Focus on the present moment. Your body will tell you what it needs. You listen to it. And then as you do those self-regulation practices, then your brain will remember or have a new thought, maybe a more hopeful one. But yeah, memories might be a part of what comes up in your brain. Macy said that in the present, my arms went up as if I was flying. You had an impulse and you listened to it and you let your body complete that impulse in the present moment. So that was really, really good. It felt fabulous. It felt freeing. Yeah, it was that same sympathetic energy or similar enough with a different outcome. It wasn't in defense. It wasn't out of control. It was not lost as a kid. It wasn't overwhelmed as a kid. It was in the present moment with you as an adult, feeling it and experiencing it with your safety state strongly, firmly anchored in the present moment. And that unlocked all the self-regulation that unfolded from that. And so she stopped as soon as she sensed a slight wave of defensive energy, and the thought was, this might be too much. That's totally fine. You might reach a point where you realize, or where your body's, where it feels like too much, and then your brain says, this might be too much. So you could listen to that and pause and rest, recover, and come back to it. That's totally fine. Or if you're up for it, One other option, not just for Macy, but for all of us, is that we can say, no, I can handle this, and maybe tiptoe a bit further into it. I just don't want anyone to end up in further dysregulation and re-traumatize themselves. So if you're feeling like it's too much, if it starts to feel like overwhelm or fear, that's probably a pretty good indication that that's too much. But if there's some safety, if there's some, yes, I can do this left within you, then I think it's okay to take it another step and just feel a little bit more into whatever the new defensive wave is that's coming up. You don't have to, but it's an option. Macy asks, Justin, please, could you consider your next course covering how to move into feeling safe with sympathetic activation? So this is covered in the Unstucking Defensive States course, but I can definitely, actually, I already am. So I have the Shutdown to Stillness, which is, shutdown into stillness. The course I'm working on right now is Stillness to Sympathetic, or Stillness to Mobilization. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet, but yeah, this is the next step here as far as the coursework goes within my Total Access membership. So yeah, Macy, that is coming. When, I don't know, but that is the next thing I'm creating, is how do we welcome the sympathetic activation with compassion and use it just like Macy did here. That's it. Macy, again, like seriously, incredible, great job. And thank you so much for sharing this little self-regulation story in the Stucknaut Collective. I love hearing from the Stucknaut Collective members or from my clients and seeing the changes that they go through. I love hearing from people in the podcast or on YouTube that are finding success through these present moment mindfulness practices, through using polyvagal theory, that knowledge, and then building on it. So I love hearing this stuff. And I hope, dear listener, to hear from you that you're finding some success as well. If you'd like to join me and Macy and others in a really wonderful small community, the Stucknaut Collective, you are hereby invited. I would love to see you in there. It's a great little community. It also has all my trauma recovery courses. You can get the community, get the courses, open Q&As, a second podcast, and other stuff in the Stuck Not Broken Total Access membership. I'll have a link for you in the description. Well, once you sign up for the Stuck Not Broken Total Access membership, you can chit chat with us in the community, share a picture of your pet if you can. You can also start taking all the courses immediately. Everything's available for you right away. And you can start making change today. Like literally, you could sign up today, start taking courses, and it's simple knowledge that is designed to be used immediately. So it's not like ethereal thoughts about parts and shadows and ego and all this abstract woo-woo psychobabble stuff. It is information you can build on today. You are hereby invited. I would love to see you inside the Stucknaut Collective. Bye.
This podcast is not therapy, not intended to be therapy or be a replacement for therapy. Nothing in this creates or indicates a therapeutic relationship. Please consult with your therapist or seek for one in your area if you are experiencing mental health symptoms. Nothing in this podcast should be construed to be specific life advice. It is for educational and entertainment purposes only.